Yes. Welcome to Sunday Live Chat, another edition. Today, welcoming, are you in South London? John Whybrew from Portion Control.
Yeah, no, more North London actually, or Hertfordshire, so the edge of North London. So yeah.
You used to be from South London though, originally, weren't you guys?
Yeah, we were. Dean and Ian were from South London, and I've always been from the same area I'm now, but we based ourselves in South London because we lived in Kennington for years. That's where we sort of based ourselves.
Kennington, yes, I always recall that. Was
Yeah.
737 Eastern Road, something like that?
Yeah, 319 it was. 319.
Oh, 319 Kennington Road. But wasn't there
That's right.
Wasn't there an address before that for In-Phase? Or was you guys had your own address?
Oh yeah, the In-Phase address would have been it would have been Pat's. That was out in that's out in East London, that was Essex.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guildford, Essex. Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's
it.
The label In-Phase Records that was I guess it wasn't the immediate thing that you guys started out. You started out in the cassette world. And the cassette world in those days, you had to find out about it through some magical way. And I don't know how we all found out about each other, but how did you find out about each other back then?
When you say about each other, how do you mean? About the whole beginning of the industrial, that early period?
Yeah, so for us in Canada, we had this guy that had written this book called Clem. It's called The Contact List for Electronic Musicians. And you guys were actually in there amongst all these other things. And basically you could find out information about where you could get like a list where people were selling cassettes or their, the most earliest incarnations.
Yeah, sure.
And the vibrancy of the tape trading scene back then was made it so exciting, but so difficult to acquire new music at that time. But I was wondering if you were familiar with Clem or if you...
Yeah, we never had Clem, but how we really got started and started to discover stuff was John Peel that we had in the UK. So he used to have and he had an evening show, so he always used to play really indie and really, really early stuff. But where John Peel was brilliant was that he used to mix it with things like really heavy reggae, and then some of the more eccentric UK stuff like Ivor Cutler, and so even some of the sort of krautrock stuff, So his show was just amazing. So you used to put a cassette in and you'd tape the 2 hours, and then you'd dub the best bits down to a mixtape, and then you'd sort of swap that. And I was at college at the time, and Dean and Ian, we were in the same college, and you know what it's like. A group of us all used to get together, and if we found a single or a cassette or something, or a new piece of music on John Peel, we'd just say, take this cassette, listen to it. What do you think? And that's how we really discovered stuff. But I tell you what I think was so important about that period is that period in the UK was post-punk. So post-punk meant everything to us. It meant that you could start a band, with no skill, no interest in the music industry, just an interest to make music. And then on top of that, it was the end of the analog era, and the analog era was beginning to merge into the digital era. So as you know, we had analog synthesizers, but at the same time, computers were appearing. So it was a really, really pivotal time, wasn't it, in technology and music?
It seemed like being in the crossroads very early on. You guys were already talking about digital sampling software and using computers. I think I was kind of like under the impression that I was amazed. We had Dean on here almost 2 years ago already, and he was talking about how you guys had utilized the TB303 a lot on some of the early stuff, and I wasn't really picturing that in my head. That wasn't my first choice of what I thought you guys actually were using. So was there a period where you were utilizing the classics such as the bassline and the TR-606 first before you got into technology? Or
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, I think before we used the TB303s and the dramatics, we'd use the Green Gate, which was a really early sampler. But we knew when we saw that sampler, and you have to have I think it was an Apple II that you had to have to use it, and just a big long keyboard, and it had loads of cables sticking out the back. It was called a Green Gate, and it was the first real sampler. But we had that, and obviously when you play the sound, it just pitched up. It just went Mickey Mouse, or really deep. But we knew at that point that sampling was going to be so important to music, and we had a real flavour and a feel for that, an instinct for that. So after that, we looked at the S950s, the S1. We had an S1000 with a hard drive, which is our pride of place. But the funny thing is, on the TB303 and the dramatics, we pre-ordered those machines from Roland, from the Rock Shop in Camden Town in London. We picked them up the day they came out. And I think that was something like 82 or 83. And those two machines formed diastagomentally, the bass and the rhythm for diastagomentally. And I'm convinced that was the first commercial product with a TB303. Well, the TB303 is on every single track on there diastagomentally. So we had the first record with the TB303 on. But of course, 303 is remembered for the acid, which came miles later. Nevertheless, it's we play, and whether it leads us or not.
Seems like we might be losing you, John, a little bit here. Unfortunately, you're frozen for the second, but hopefully you can hear me. And yeah, we can come back.
Yeah, I'm okay again. Yeah.
There you are. You're back.
Yeah.
Do you remember when in your recorded history that the Green Gate digital sampling card came along? Oh, did we lose you again? Look at it. Looks like
very, very early.
We might have to do what we've done before, where we might have to reconnect. But you seem to be there again. Let's see if we can go again here. So we missed the answer for the Green Gate sampling.
Yeah, I'm not sure when that was. I'd have to look at Wikipedia on that machine, but we bought it from a band called Mainframe.
Mainframe?
That had they had a one hit in the UK, which was using the Green Gate, funny enough. We bought the machine directly from them, so I don't think it was available commercially.
I'd never heard of it.
I'm not quite sure how we came across it, or no. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it relied on an Apple II. It relied on it.
Did you use it on this album yet, or was it?
No.
This was 303 606.
Correct. And a Moog Rogue SH09 on that album.
What comes to mind when you see this?
Assault would have been a Porter Studio. I think that would have been similar gear. Certainly the Moog Rogue. We loved the Moog Rogue. Most unloved Moog synthesizer in the history of the world, but we absolutely adored it.
Yeah, the radio.
You could get those pardon?
You could get them at Radio Shack, couldn't you?
Yeah, they were a poor man's Moog for sure. But the oscillators used to drift out of sync. It was dreadful. But if you put it through a few effects pedals and stuff, you could turn it into almost like guitar type drones and tones. So very dystopian sounds that we could squeeze out of that machine. So we absolutely loved it. Oh crikey, Dying on the Fresh. That would have been crumbs. Yeah, that's incredible. One of those things.
We got a cassette EP. We got a 2-track flexi disc.
breaking
I
up.
mean, that's the future. You know, I've been told I'm the king of nostalgia, so forgive me on my nostalgiaisms, but I like it when people can reflect on the equipment and the technology of how you started and what you were using, and then you were building slowly. I'm gathering that this must have been like the very beginning period where you're using, look, with mixed emotion.
Yeah, yeah.
But honestly, John, I've said this a million times, and I really do think that you guys, as portion control, I mean, you kind of have some responsibility for the inspiration that you shed into what I'll call the North American, I'll call it the industrial music scene. It wasn't called industrial really back then. Hard electronics, and basically, if you inspired Skinny Puppy as heavily as you did, which you did, then that means that you inspired Nine Inch Nails, you inspired the whole Ministry, you really inspired the impetus for what would become, the whole scene. And, I kind of think this album, the Elephant Table album, as being the introduction to this entire, at the time, how could somebody in Canada be exposed to this type of music and then be inspired? And then, so you guys were all featured on this, Chew You to Bits. And
yeah.
And also had your address on there. And I've told this story before, how I believe there's even a phone number on your album. And we as a very young bunch of guys decided to call that number, and Edward
I remember
answered. Yeah. And so it was like pretty close, good, like the world just connected. And I remember that we sent you our first demo tape, the first cassette we ever made. We sent it to you, and you responded.
That's right.
I got a wonderful letter here from you where you actually said, we particularly liked side one, and we suggest that you send it on to Dave Henderson at Sounds Magazine, which we did. He gave us a review. And really, it's really funny is that this is like the very beginning of our career. So I want to just say that this album was to us like,
oh, it was a nightmare.
Really is. I mean, you'll find a lot of people in America, and you're about to come to America and do a tour in September, which everyone's really excited about.
It's bloody connection on this thing.
A lot of people will be talking to you all about this album. Trust me on that. So I just want to say that it really is, to me, if anybody ever has liked Nine Inch Nails and Ministry and Skinny Puppy, you need to go check where that inspiration came from. So John, where do you think your guys' inspiration came from? We got a connection here.
Oh, this is nightmare, isn't it?
Do you want to reconnect? Do you want to, if you reboot your computer and reconnect, it quite often will work. And I can hang here for a few minutes and keep everybody entertained while you go and just
reconnect. Yeah,
follow the same Zoom link.
Okay.
And then just come right back in, like just reboot your stuff, your modem or your computer, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Okay. Yep.
Try it. Here we go. This is called technology. And, sometimes you got to do this type of stuff. But what's kind of good is that this gives me an opportunity to rave about how good portion control really is, and how a band nearly 40 years is still continuing on. I got to big up Dean and John for continuing on. And also, John was such a gentleman in his original contact to me. Is very, very, very sweet in his letter. Thank you for writing, and really didn't have to say anything about anything, It was like, if you respond to, oh, John's back already. That's quite quick. Let's see what we got here. There he is. That was pretty quick.
Yeah, the connection seems good, but it is breaking up. I can see that it's starting to break up.
Well, let's see how far we can go then. Let me know. Is it worse or better than before, you think?
Yeah, about the same, I think, Kevin, to be honest.
You seem better here.
Right. Okay. Let's hope then.
I was basically talking about how sweet you guys were and the way that you responded and how genuine you seemingly
Yeah.
have always been about things. We were talking about your inspiration. What do you think got you guys inspired to make an album like I Staggered Mentally?
Yeah, that's a difficult one because, like I said to you, when we were starting to swap material with each other, post-punk, a few bands were quite inspirational, electronic type bands. There's a band called Merzbow. That was one single we had. Square in the center. And then people started with tapes and electronics, so that started to sort of. We'd never guitars, we'd never really liked keyboards. Is it still? You still okay your end or?
We can hear you. It freezes from now and again, but we got to go with it, I guess. Are you? It's hard to tell when you're frozen or when you're just pausing. But yeah, try it again, John. Were you able to restart your computer, or the modem that you're on, the actual device?
Yeah, I mean it's all plugged up, but it's all plugged up, and I'm on the highest level of Virgin internet possible. But for some reason, it's really bad.
It comes and goes. So
I don't know if it.
I mean, we've had this happen before, but not as such a stop. And then what would happen, if you can hear me, is that we'd have to restart and then call back in, like as we just did. You might want to try it one more time.
One more time. So come right out and call back in, yeah?
But restart your computer.
Right, okay.
Okay. It's awesome to have kind of like a chat about technology and have technology be a limit. One time I went and saw Stephen Hawking give a chat, and he basically has the sound of his voice coming from his wheelchair, and they couldn't figure out a way to mic his system so that it was adequate enough for everybody at the chat to hear it appropriately. So there was like lots of feedback and sort of like things that I was thinking like, man, this is one of the most intelligent people on the face of the planet, and they can't figure out how to amplify his voice. And I thought that was quite ironic, but something that stays with you in some cases. You go to technology festivals and events and basically have similar things happen where things won't sound good and they're there to display sound. Let's try this again. I mean, Sundays are for adventure.
Yeah.
It looks clear and clean. Let's go with this.
Right, okay.
All right. So we were talking about inspiration, and I happen to think that kind of along the way in line, I mean, we had Throbbing Gristle and we had Cabaret Voltaire in that sort of world that was being sort of leaked out to the people in the world. I thought, in Canada, we could hear about that. But was that something equally as inspirational to you guys in the UK? Or was that something that you...
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And Coil, Lust Maud. Probably most of the proponents were on the Elephant table, actually.
Absolutely.
We were all beginning to... So yeah, Balbany's Quark, 400 Blows were on there.
It was just so I mean, my take was is that up to a certain point, punk kind of had a set of rules, and it was kind of like the first time that you got a punk sort of progression that included other elements. It was sort of like the idea of found sound and the idea of tapes and the idea of these elements all of a sudden became more punk, became sort of more acceptable into the underground. And so what my immediate take was when I heard Portion Control, I Staggered Mentally was, this is hard-edged electronics. And you even said on here, it was like hard rhythmic electronics. And I was like thinking, yes, this is the door opening to something that was, incredibly fresh and exciting. And I think in some ways you guys, for certain in Vancouver, Canada, you probably wouldn't even realize that, but that you guys had kind of like taken the reins of the scene at that point, because it was like, wow, this is like, something that they were playing in the dance clubs and people were really responding to. So
yeah, I think for the Elephant Table, I think it's interesting that our track "Chew to Bits" was a very traditional song. It's got an intro, it's got verses, it's got choruses, it's even got a middle eight, and then the kind of choruses out of it. It's like a 3-minute punk song, but
absolutely.
But as we saw it, we didn't want to be self-indulgent electronics at that point. We wanted to be, we were brought up from punk and we were brought up from musical structures of pop songs, which we'd grown up with. So we wanted to turn those kind of pop songs on their head a bit, and hence Cheer to Bits. But the other thing is that I'm quite proud of on that particular release was Dean's vocals, which, his words, if you get the chance to understand them or listen to them, I think are underestimated. I hope he's not listening, because he'll he won't let me forget this. But I think his vocals have been really important as well. So for us, so something like "Chew to Bits," we thought that probably nailed it for us. I don't think we've done anything better, and I don't think we ever will. So for us, we're happy. We're happy with our legacy of that track. And I guess I stagger mentally as well, because as you say, there was nothing subtle about that, really. It was hard rhythmic electronics. We were desperate to try and make the drums sound as tough as possible. It's much easier with today's technology than it was then.
It seemed like you guys had Simmons, you were triggering Simmons drums on Chew to Bits. It was kind of like you had like that extra bit of synthesizer drum. Did we lose you again?
Yeah, I just missed your section there.
I was talking about, it seemed like you guys had a Simmons drum or something that you had acquired, a Simmons brain or some Simmons on Chew.
Yeah, I think they must have just been Simmons samples, because we never actually owned the Simmons kit.
Oh, wow.
We'd always seen it, but we always felt it was just those classic electronic toms, so we'd never really. Yeah. I mean, latterly, I think I've understood it probably better than I did at the time, So we did use the Simmons samples, but we never actually had the Simmons kit itself.
So that would have been using the Green Gate sampler then for the Simmons samples then already. The Green Gate sampler, that would have, with that, oh.
It's breaking again, and it's possible.
Would that have been the Green Gate sampler then with those Simmons samples?
I've got a feeling by then it probably would have been an S950.
Oh, S950 came.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you said we're talking, I hope you can hear me. When we're talking about that period, and you could realize, I suppose, that you were making some pretty hard-edged music and making it as hard as possible. Is that something that is that something that I kind of got that feeling you were saying, I don't know if we'll make something as hard again. Is that because of the technology or the equipment, or something about the way that you, maybe as a youth, we basically all know what we don't like by that point, and we can just put in whatever edge we want into the music to get what we want. This is challenging. I can say to ask questions, obviously when we don't know if it's going through. It might even be seized up. Are we seized up again, John? Our apologies to everybody. We're trying our best here. Well, John, maybe.
Yeah, I did miss that question, I'm afraid. I only caught the end of it. Yeah, I know.
Well,
What about audio only? With that?
I think, basically, the whole essence of inspiration. I think that's what I was trying to talk about like having equipment that you, like, say, for instance, like such small amount of equipment and getting a lot out of it, and then growing and having inspiration. You acquire more equipment, and kind of seems like sometimes it could be more challenging to make things as heavy or make things as aggressive than you had with the lesser equipment. Did you find that like having more made it like a little more challenging to like get those results later?
I don't think we've ever found it too challenging in I don't know. I mean, it's always, like yourselves. I mean, it's always had to be aggressive to function. So I don't think we've ever found it more difficult. If anything, I think we've found it progressively easier as time's gone along.
I think the
only thing missing is the naivety that we had at the beginning.
I don't know. I kind of like the approach that, a lot of bands have at the beginning, where they don't have a lot and you don't have a lot, but you make the most out of that. I think a lot of bands that come out of the Porta Studio era, like their Porta Studio recordings or tape recordings, are quite often, just as accomplished as any of the things that they've done in studios, and really find that desire as a youth to make something and know. I mean, I've touched on this with so many people, where you have that goal to make a recording, and under any method you're going to make it, and that's what sets you on. And then it just becomes easier later when you acquire more equipment. But that original inspiration is what I'm really attracted to, and I think a lot of people are really attracted to the fact that portion control has been around for so long and always been keeping your eye in the same sort of inspired sort of place. Your new stuff, I hope you can still hear me. Since we spoke to Dean in 2020, Head Buried had just come out, and since then you've been working on the Seed series, the Seed EP, Seed 3. Oh, looks like we lost John there for a sec. It's just, not sure if you're hearing the questions, but I was making reference how the Seed series here is basically just as heavy duty now. I think you guys have refound like this new portion control mark.
Oh, it's just not working, is it?
Not working. You want to try connecting again, John?
I will try and take it downstairs.
Try restarting the modem. The modem is the most important thing, the connection with the modem. Turn the power off on the modem and then power it back up with your computer, and that might do it. If you can. If you can. In the meantime, it's tough. But what I'd like to do is maybe talk about the fact that Portion Control is about to tour the United States of America. I am almost pretty certain that this is the first North American appearance of Portion Control, and it's starting September 14th through September 25th. As you can see here, it's going to be with Front 242 and a couple of occasions there, with Stromkern, and also there is going to be a Cold Waves Festival with Nitzareb. And this should be something that should be pretty exciting. If you don't have your tickets, get your tickets now. Let's see if we can get John back in here. You know, this is probably out of the 2 years of chats, I think this is like the only time where we've had the full breakdown of a connection. So it has, I will say that's gone pretty good over time with consistency. But let's talk a little bit more about portion control. I think this picture, John needs to come back and discuss this picture. I think it's amazing. But at one time, I mean, we're talking a long time ago, there was some goodies that you could get, that extra special stuff. Is John back yet? He's not back yet. So what this time is, John's going to reset his modem and reset his computer. And I think this could be the answer. It typically is the answer. Thank you guys for hanging in there. I actually had a lot of questions with, I wanted to talk to John about their eventual John Peel session. It's kind of interesting that, you know, a lot of guys are inspired by the Peel sessions growing up and hearing so many great things, and then to inevitably find yourself on the Peel show just must be such a mind warp. It's not something that, of course, I know about, but it's always something that I think that must be exciting for a band. My thought is, like, if John Peel just did that to, like, basically acquire the knowledge of all the bands that he would have on about how they would have approached the recordings. My interest is in how much he would try to dominate the actual session to record the song, maybe his way, versus like giving artists the ability to sort of like take control and just with a better studio come up with better results. This is something that I'm hoping to talk to John. So far, we don't see John returning into the chat. But if this is the case, perhaps we can reschedule John for a future date. I just want to reiterate that I think it's important that, you know, for a band nearly 40 years of age to be making their first North American tour, that everybody hopefully get a chance to get out and see them and support them. Really classic. We played with Portion Control one time with Skinny Puppy in already 2004. And that is going back to the ancient times already, I feel. It was at the Forum in London. And my perspective was that I was able to stand behind the screen where that was in front of them and listen to their set. And I think they did Shoot You to Bits and a few of the other classics. And I have to say, I was incredibly inspired to see that. That is I think that's, I saw them one more time in Germany in 2012 at the Wave Gothic Treffen, and was interesting. Let's see here. Cold Waves Festival in New York at the Warsaw in Brooklyn is going to be Front 242. Looks like the Remnants of the Revolting Cocks and Portion Control with Rain. That's going to be a good bill. I would advise checking that out. That is on September 15th. And we've got the Big Shoe. This one here is the one at the Riviera in Chicago, which is Front 242. Nights Are Portion Control, all in one show. How can you miss that? September 25th at the Riviera Theater in Chicago. You got to go catch that, everybody. I believe the Metro has the other 3 nights going on before that. Oh, no, John. It may be that John had a terminal error at his end, in which case, yeah, we don't really know what the answer will be. So I'm going to make do here as much as I can. Let's talk about what's at the Mayan. It looks like this is in LA. Here we've got Front 242. No, this is not where Portion Control is playing. Portion Control will be playing, I believe, their own show here in Los Angeles. Let's check here the dates. Oh, it's at the Mayan. Yeah, okay, so we're good on September 22nd. Yes, sirree. So no John back. Well, this is like the downside of doing live streams and live chats. We can never really know what's going to happen, but so what I'm going to do is I shall continue to promote. If any of you guys have not heard the new stuff, the new Portion Control, it's not completely new, but we're talking a series of the 3 seed EPs, seed EP 1, 2, and 3. I say it's a complete return to form for Portion Control. I was kind of like hoping and looking that there would be this period of the reawakening, this claw and scrape extract, and telekinesis V2 Portion Control from the Seed 1, the Seed 1 EP, even this, all sorts of stuff that you can get, but on their site, which is portioncontrol.net. This is where you can go and acquire all their stuff. And basically, it's not Bandcamp world, it's support Portion Control directly. I love going through new material from a band where I feel that they're touching a new space. I'm going to say if anybody's ever seen that Gasper No series of films, Irreversible or Enter the Void, kind of like has like a really hard-edged, just electronic vibe that I was getting a really good energy from. And I'm pretty sure Portion Control doesn't have anything to do with that music, but the feeling that I was getting from the new stuff is very much down that hard edge. The kick drum sounds like it's just perfect. All the stuff you could ever want from, a band like Portion Control. Okay, this is the longest that I've had to go alone. Help me, people, help me. Well, Portion Control, I've been a fan for a hell of a long time, I have to say. As we talked about with John and Dean, and before Ian Sharp. I think I have most of the goodies, most of the collectibles, and most of them have been hanging in there since they were young kids. And now we're all old. Actually sent me this picture, I'm going to say 1984. Basically, they're autographs. I think, who can say they've got Portion Control's autograph? Definitely me. I can say that if you're ever going to have a what's in the bag type of show, and you're going to ask me to be on it, and you're going to ask what type of records do I like to listen to, I'm going to say, probably say Portion Control. So that's a true statement. What is it about Portion Control that I think is interesting if you're a Skinny Puppy fan? I think that you need to listen to I Staggered Mentally and realize that inspiration was definitely, so you could see where, you know, we got the kick in the pants from. It was like definitely like-minded music and like-minded energies had to be followed up. Ah, John, let's see. We'll try here again. John has got a different, looks like a different computer this time. Connecting to audio. There you are. Hello. Hi. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can.
Yes, we're back.
We're back, and I think we should be all right. I've gone to a completely new setup, so
Completely new setup. Okay, well, I have been improvising. I've been like talking about your history. I've been talking about your new records. Hopefully, we can actually talk and actually discuss things. Now, that was great. You know what I was saying? It's been a joy to listen to your new stuff. Seeded 3, Seed EP1, Seed EP2. You still able to hear me?
yes.
Yeah. The new stuff. The kick drums sound like fantastic. The vibe that you've got going again. It's, you know, it's just like pure portion control, freshness, fresh aggression, fresh electronic from portion control. Let's talk about the new stuff and what type of stuff you're using now to get that freshness going.
Yeah, thank you. So for the CD EPs, it's very much in the box. So it's very much we're very much computer only, you know, VSTs and so on. So Dean and I generally work in isolation. So I want to work on a track, and Dean will work on a track, and I'll work on a track, and then we'll pass the tracks down to each other. So yeah, I mean, we're big fans of certain plugins like Serum, Omnisphere,
Nice.
and so on. So yeah,
Where are the kick drums coming from, man?
the kick drums, generally speaking, are samples, or there's another kick drum. There's another D16 do a kick drum unit, you know, which has an analog kick, and then you add like sample tops to it. Can't remember the name of it now, but really, really, really good.
Yeah. I think I know exactly which one you're talking about.
It's definitely D16 who do mainly do effects, but it's an excellent kick drum machine. But the thing we did for the seeds was we didn't want the pressure. You know, like if you do a CD, there's a lot of pressure on like 10 tracks. You know, it's got to be taken quite seriously. We're quite old school in our thinking, and we think like a CD means a big investment, a big pressure. So we said, rather than like put ourselves through the pressure of doing another full-length CD, that's quite a task, we said, let's just do EPs, you know. So that's, but I tell you what, the best thing about doing the EPs was that the pressure to do it was far less, and we were far more creative. So it could be slightly more experimental. We could rush things through a little bit faster. And like you alluded to earlier, sometimes the best of our music comes from when we're sort of a little bit up against it. You know, we're a bit more pressured. We've got less time to do things. You know, we don't fiddle around, you know. So the CDPs. And then lastly, on Seed 3, what became even more important was we had this idea of doing these 2-minute tracks. I mean, I'm going back to when one of my all-time favourite albums ever was Wire, Pink Flag, which had tiny short tracks. But the short tracks were like really well worked. You know, they weren't like throwaway tracks. They were like what should have been really full-scale tracks, but they were like, could be a minute and a half long, you know. So right. I said to Dean, let's set ourselves a limit and let's do 2 minutes, and you've got to get the track started and done, you know. And so, yeah, so that was the idea between the CDP3. So we did this thing called Short Range, which was a series of really, really short tracks, but we thoroughly enjoyed it. We probably enjoyed making music for the first time. Yeah, I'm not saying we always enjoy making our music, but we particularly were invigorated for Seed 3. So I think it's a tactic that has worked quite well. So, yeah.
And I think the vocals are fantastic on Telekinesis V2. It's like kind of like, it's just getting back into like this really heavy form again. And so it's like, it kind of makes me wonder what will we see when you guys are touring coming up? What's the thought? Is there any backwards looking ever, or is it all forwards?
No, it's a funny thing. It's a funny thing because we've started what we're now starting is what we call the hybrid era. It's where we're taking some of the older tracks and reworking them.
Nice.
We've reworked Refugee, so it doesn't really sound like Refugee, but it's got the same kind of spirit as Refugee. So it's a bit hard, but I think anybody that knows our music will recognise the tracks, but they've been radically kind of reworked and revamped. So there's a combination, and then Chew the Bits has just been reworked. Some of those old classics, you know, but it's also forward thinking. So there's lots of elements from Zoom, lots of elements from the CDPs as well. So I think it's going to be a real mixture. How
far do you go back? Do you go as far back as any I Stagger tracks?
Yeah, little tiny bits of I Stagger. There's a few little pump pulsey bits. There's a few little bits from tapes. So it's quite a sort of mashup of PC. So yeah, so there are elements definitely. Probably the stronger tracks are the seed tracks like Possession and those kind of tracks, but and Head Buried, all that stuff, you know. So right. I think to be honest with you, for the first time in our career, and obviously we've got a long career just like yourself, I think for the first time we're actually finding it hard to put a set list together because we've got more tracks than, you know,
right,
than we need. I mean, we never play for very long anyway, so we'll only ever play an hour. But to fill an hour now, you know, we finally think that we can do it. So, but what we've done is we've reduced the songs as well. We've reduced the songs to 3.5 minutes maximum. We don't want a song to be longer than 3.5 minutes because Dean and I we do get quite bored. When the songs start, everyone's enthusiastic, right? But after about 3.5 minutes, the enthusiasm's like waning. So we'll just start a new track. So that's what we're intending to do. So yeah, so we've got some tricks up our sleeve for these concerts, but we're really looking forward to it.
Have you guys ever played in America before?
No, never played in America before. We've been invited to play on a number of occasions, but for different reasons, we've never managed to do it. So yeah, this will be our first ever visit, and probably our last. But no,
I think this is the start of many. Once you're,
yeah, maybe. But
once the Cold Waves guys, you know, Jason does a really good job with Cold Waves.
Excellent.
He's excellent guy to be linked with to do your tour. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. There's some fantastic looking shows that you guys have with all sorts of like the show at the Riviera in Chicago. It's a classic venue, like the classic huge venue that you guys will be playing. And you know, the Mayan in LA is also another just classic old school vaudevillian sort of place, and it's like really, really nice. I'm looking over the venues, and you've got like a really nice bunch of venues there, and I think you guys are going to have a fantastic time. I really can't wait myself to see you on September 22nd.
Oh, excellent.
It's going to be great. What else is in store? I know you've been working on the Seed, but is that the Seeded series? Is that the most up-to-date stuff, or you guys got something else to spring on us?
It's not really anything else. I think hopefully we'll have a couple of new tracks that we'll be introducing into the live set. So when we come, there'll be a couple of tracks that even the hardest core PC fan won't recognise. But we've always, again, I hate to say, we do tend to take a lot of inspiration from Wire, because I remember going to see Wire just after Pink Flag was released, and I saw them at the Marquee. And I was desperate for them to play 12XU and Lowdown and all these great tracks. And never played a single thing. They always used to play the you know, their new stuff, which was from the album that you hadn't heard, you know. And they were adamant that they wouldn't play, you know, their sort of popular, their sort of previous stuff. So yeah, there's an element of that in the way we're approaching it. But you know, we're going to play Chew the Bits in these tracks, you know, because You know, people want these
I
things.
think you'll get a huge response from that because those were songs that have been typically played in the clubs here for years. And so, even like, Go Talk and, classic Go Talk or anything from, I think, from Hit the Pulse, basically. There's a, Crash Weight Gain. I mean, so many things. Raise the Pulse, like so many things that have been sort of like big dance floor hits. What's really funny is that I had Graham Lewis was on the chat last week from Wire.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of so funny.
Oh, excellent.
Talking about that. Yeah, he's a really great guy and was quite interesting too. But your history has been long, and it's kind of cool that you guys, you and Dean have stayed together and stuff like through time. Did Ian just need to retire, or it was like something that?
Yeah, Ian kind of retired after the first phase. When we finished the first phase, I'm not quite sure what year that would have been, but sort of mid-80s, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of mid-80s, we wound it all down. And then we reformed 2004, but Ian didn't come back because I think Ian was more interested in his family and not really, he was never like a driving force so much. I think probably I've been the biggest driving force, but, and then Dean's always been on board, So 2004, I just mentioned to Dean to restart, and we actually met at the British Museum. There's a Welcome Trust exhibition there. We went and had a cup of coffee and we discussed whether we should restart. And that's when the Welcome CD, obviously, because we'd met at this Welcome Trust exhibition, so we just called it Welcome, obviously misspelt with the 2 L's. And that's what started it all off again.
Did you guys bump into each other after not seeing each other, or was that just by chance? Yeah,
no, I think we never really spoke much. We just spoke every so often, but in our hearts, we'd done PC for that. We'd done PC and we'd really enjoyed it. And I just chanced and said to Dean, what do you think? Come down to London, let's meet at this Welcome exhibition and let's have a chat and maybe we'll restart Portrait Control. And that's just how it happened. So, but the one thing we said on Welcome was, the one thing we determined was that we would only use a laptop to produce it. No outboard gear, no synthesizers. I know you guys are into modular, and I know you love all your gear, and I know everybody loves all the retro stuff, but we don't really hold any emotional attachment to any piece of equipment. We've always sold it to get the next thing, and then we've sold it to just finance other things, So
yeah, I mean, if you sold it, then there's no reason to remorse over it. Just. Isn't it funny how we had so much less and we're able to accomplish so much with so less, and now we've got everything. You can do everything, and nobody's really making like a lot, if you know what I mean.
I know. But don't you think it was a naivety of our starts that have made it so important? It's like when I think of Skinny Puppy, my favorite periods are those earlier periods, up to Two Dark Park and all that. I loved that because there was a certain naivety and a certain sort of, a certain, like you say, an aggressive sort of spark and but I don't know, because I think I'm the sort of character, unfortunately, that loves any band I like. I've always loved their early work and I've never been very fond of their later work. And there's a snobbery about me, that just, that's how I'm going to be. It's the same with a film producer or an author,
Absolutely, though.
Talk to my son about comics, and I only love, I love the early Alan Moores and the early like Sandman, Neil Gaiman's and all that, but anything past all that, it's just a snobbery, I think. And, but,
Graham Lewis was saying the same thing. All we talk about is 154 or Pink Flag, Chairs Missing. It's like, I've done 16.
I know. But
that's not a bad thing to be like iconic. And you guys to me are certainly like Portrait Control is certainly iconic.
Yeah.
And
I remember right when you sent some pictures to us at 319 Kennington Road, And do you know what? We were really impressed. I'll tell you why, because this photo had, I think it was one of your bedrooms, but you had the like hit the pulse posters and I stagger posters. Right? Yeah, but in England, right, if you had a poster, you used to stick it on your wall with like blue tack or with like a pin. But you guys had like dry mounted it into beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'd put the records with I think it might have been an MS-20 or something, was it? And
Yeah.
the posters and the records around it. It was fantastic. And then one more thing, I think you'd gone on holiday somewhere to the Bahamas or something and seen a building which had Porsche Control written on it. You sent us this picture. Bill Lee or something, I don't know, one of you guys, but
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think you sent me this picture. This picture is up in my studio.
Oh, fantastic.
Everyone's like, oh, look at that. It's like autograph Porsche Control. And above it, I staggered mentally poster like you got behind you there. So yeah, it's pretty prominent. Yeah, and it is dry mounted.
Yeah, exactly. I was very impressed.
Some things were really worth it though. But I mean, it's kind of weird that time has gone so fast. So what is your takeaway now that you've seen kind of like your life sort of like go from being like a youthful lad and starting this and then now look back on it all? What's the takeaway?
That's a very, very, very interesting question.
That's a great one.
Yeah. If I reflect, I think we sit so outside of the music industry, Dean and I. We've never taken drugs. We've never drunk alcohol particularly. We've always been a difficult fit. We've always hated keyboard stands. If anybody has a keyboard stand on keyboard, we absolutely hated it. We've always loved sort of sequencing over any attempt to play anything. We hate all the trappings of music. I don't really know why we've done it for so long. But the one thing we do like is making it. I suppose what we really like is creating, this kind of aggressive, forward-thinking electronics. I suppose it's probably not forward-thinking anymore because we're old men now. But we've never changed. We've never changed our kind of priorities. It's always been, a good thick bass line and some simple drums and that, some nice screeches over the top, and that's good enough. So yeah, takeaway, that's really, really difficult.
Yes. Bitwig, Ableton, Digitac, Studio One, Reactor, Audio Damage, D16, Unfiltered Audio, Resolume, and Lavazza. Is this? I mean, a lot of people are liking Bitwig these days. Is that something that you found you had a good time with Bitwig?
Yeah, definitely. Very, very big on Bitwig. I think it does everything Ableton or Ableton does, but I think honestly it does it better. And I also think when your sight isn't as good as you get older, Bitwig is much chunkier and bigger. It's much easier to work with. Very, very impressed with Bitwig. The VATs for coffee, of course. Resolume's what we use for our videos and graphics and stuff. I toyed with Digitac. Have you tried any of that stuff? Did
you sell it yet?
Pardon?
Did you sell your Digitac yet, or you kept it?
I sold it in the end.
I see.
I liked it, but I could never quite incorporate it into the tracks as easily as I thought I should have done.
I like the MPC one better for the same type of functionality as in that sense.
Yeah, I've got the MPC one. I quite like that.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. What's the?
I like the fact you can add loads of effects and render the samples down. And render pads and
yeah.
I tell you what I have looked at though that I think looks really, really good. It's the M8 tracker.
Oh yeah.
have you seen that little handheld tracker?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's so small. Then you're looking to get your eyes in trouble again.
yeah, I suppose, but I just think it looks so good. In fact, it's portable, and yeah, it looks like an interesting piece of kit. I think quite like the tracker because again, it's sequenced, isn't it? You know, there's
Yeah.
no tend to be a piano roll, any of that nonsense.
So
Yeah.
what's this? A portion control operator, challenging loops. It's a sample pack that you guys have created.
Yeah, quite a small sample pack. I think we just did a series of loops at 110 BPM, and
Okay.
it like you could just chop them up or do what you like with them. But I think it's a couple of hundred loops. I thought we put it on Bandcamp as well.
Okay.
A few pounds it was, but it was just simple set of loops really.
It seems like most of the stuff that you guys are offering these days is more readily available on portioncontrol.net. Is that where you'd rather go to shop than rather than Bandcamp?
Yeah, I mean either really. Either. I don't. I mean, I think we're winding down the website, to be honest, because it's probably too expensive to run, and we just can't really be bothered with it. So I think we're going to probably convert to Bandcamp in the end.
So up until now, this is like the main place where you would go to buy the products.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is where you can come, people, and go. You can get Operator there. Oh, look at all that! And I was noticing that one beautiful 2006 archive 5 CD set with everything. It's all sold out though. Oh, is that going to be reissued?
No, I don't think so. We sort of that was all the original vinyl.
Vinyl? Are you kidding me? Wow.
Oh no, it was done as a CD set, but it was all the original sort of vinyl from
Right.
Stagger Mentally Set Forward through the singles, and then the last CD was some images and all the tracks done as MP3, so you didn't even have to bother ripping them. So, but yeah, we're not. I don't think we're going to do that again. In fact, I'm not even sure the copyright on all that stuff because some of it sits with Virgin 10. So
Once they're gone, these things now, it's like vinyl and these things from the past. Are you a collector? Do you still?
No, not really. We never really did collect vinyl.
Yeah.
When we used to record with Pat, we used to go around to Ed Caspell's flat, and we used to like raid his vinyl. We used to look at all the stuff. But what used to be quite good is we used to go to Pat's to do recording. So we'd turn up at Pat's at 9 o'clock in the morning. We nip round to Ed's first before we went to Pat's, and Ed would always be under his bed covers with a what's those thing called? Like a hippie coat thing. Covering like some sort of furry coat thing covering him. Then while he was asleep, we used to look at all his records because he had the best record collection going. So
Absolutely.
but he used to have like all the cum organisation, and he had like the Bradford Red Light Districts and all that. He had such a good collection of stuff.
Still does. I believe he has probably like a whole house full of records now.
I can imagine.
So
Yeah.
I guess you are looking forward to getting out and playing live. You have to be, right? After COVID.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're actually going to Gothenburg at the weekend. On Friday, we're going to Gothenburg.
Nice. And wasn't there another festival coming up that you guys were Seed Live that was coming up? Is that happening?
See, is that Stockholm? Is it or?
It was one that was advertised on your site.
That's probably gone. That's gone if it was on the site, I think.
Yeah, it was Seed Live Infest Festival.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did that. That was in COVID, but they streamed it, so that was.
Okay, I see. Okay, that's last year. Okay, so the next gig that you guys are going to be doing is in Sweden.
Yeah, we're doing after we've finished America, we're doing Stockholm with Test Department, I think. So that'd be quite good.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So you're able to get out again. I know that we've all been locked in our worlds. You're able
Yeah.
to go out and move about now. This is like, oh, look at that face. I can't wait.
Yeah, that's
Is that
probably internet connection there. Isn't it?
a Bitwig?
Yeah, that's probably Resolume at that point. Probably the graphics.
Are you doing are you also doing the visuals for the live show too?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just streamed off the computers anyway. So yeah, so I'll change the graphics from one laptop, and then we use digital mixers and other stuff to stream the audio and stuff.
Did you do the visuals for the Claw and Scrape video?
For which video?
Claw and Scrape.
Claw and Scrape, yes.
So good, man.
Yeah, I just did those on an iPad.
Oh, come on. It's like so modest. You could have said, I created that out of diamond dust.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, no, with yeah, quite like the iPad for video editing. It's pretty good.
what app are you using to get such delightful results? Colors on Dean's face.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, what's that?
It's like some sort of fire effect.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what that was. Hang on a sec, got my iPad next to me. I'll have a quick look. It's probably the best video app on the iPad. It's quite well known now.
Yeah, I mean, the visuals are like stunning. Like you've got this like burning sort of look with Dean's face and all these other graphics that are melting. I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably Resolume as well. Probably some of it put through Resolume, I think.
So that's an iPad app. Okay, I'm gonna have to look into it. It looks like it's a lot of fun anyways.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the damn thing. Productivity. Where is it?
So when you guys play live, what do you trust as like playing and presenting your music? Do you have like do you tour with Ableton or do you tour with Bitwig?
No, what we tend to do is we tend to use Bitwig, and we tend to use a digital mixer with the tracks spread across the digital mixer. So we blend the Digitac with a digital recorder. So we've got some of the backing stuff recorded, and then so we can balance things like kick drums at venues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So because we don't really play live anyway, so it's a case of just streaming it all live really, and just like doing a scratch mix at the venue. And then Dean adds, and then we have Resolume, which has a deck for each track, and that gets manually triggered by me, as well as lining up the audio tracks. But we have to travel very light, we just travel with backpacks.
Yeah, that's the way.
I've literally got a 16-track Zoom digital recorder, and then a laptop with Bitwig and a laptop with Resolume, and that's as much as we do live.
That's the way.
We've learned over the years the worst thing to do is to make it hard for yourself live.
For sure.
Because it's tripped us up too often. So, but particularly when we travel light, we just simply can't simply bring everything we'd like.
Yeah.
But splitting the tracks across the digital recorder gives you quite a lot of mix opportunities. So yeah, so we quite like that. Then the other thing, of course, is you can balance like the kick and the basses. I only separate the kick drum, the bass component, and the rest of the track across stereo spread. So at least I can balance the kick and the actual bass sequence at venue level. So yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm really liking the sound of your kicks. So I mean, you're fantastic. I mean, it's kind of like, did you ever see that Gaspar Noé film Irreversible? How
no
throbbing music in the background, but it like plays. You can't really hear it. It's kind of like feels like it's in the next room the whole time, but it has intensity that's kind of like just driving. That it kind of got this like really good vibe from I was almost like getting that same energy from Marshall and Still and Hate Me. It's like really, really good driving energy that, but it's not so, full that you're like got too much going on there. It's just right. So I want to commend you on that. And
Oh, thank you.
I'm looking
It's
forward.
high praise from coming from yourself, but I'll take that.
Oh man, I'm absolutely loved it. We got a question here from Jason DeLonger. Can you please ask why is there such a dramatic shift in their sound in the span of one album, Shot in the Belly to Hit the Pulse? And where did that change come from? By the way, I'll see you in New York and Boston.
Crikey, where did that change come from? Well, Shot in the Belly was really a cassette, an older sort of cassette release, which was very, very primitive. And then Hit the Pulse, did he mention? Was Hit the Pulse? I think Hit the Pulse, we returned to studio for that. Because back in those vinyl days, for the principal releases, we used the studio. Yeah, Hit the Pulse, we would have used the studio, I'm fairly sure. And you know what it was like yourself. If you went to the studio and they had good equipment, you'd use it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for sure.
Studio, and sometimes we'd go to the studio and they might have a movement drum machine, so we'd immediately jump all over that, and we'd incorporate that into our tracks. So Hit the Pulse probably had some better equipment incorporated into it for sure. I think we had Chris Carter come along on that as well, I think.
Oh, seriously, he's uncredited.
Is he credited on that?
Not credited. This is a secret.
Oh, he can't have been then. He must have been there. He must have come along on something else.
We're just finding out the secret right now. This is like the greatest thing about chats. Chris Carter snuck in there on the Portion Control Hit the Pulse album.
He is on there, is he?
Oh, it's not credited. So it's like I think.
Oh, I see. No, he can't have done. He must have been on something else then. He must have been on something else. Because you know what he did when he did come along? He bought some really nice like tea cakes. They're like a marshmallow on a biscuit. He brought them along and we had them when we had a cup of tea. I think that was about his contribution, to be fair. But having Chris Carter in the same room is always fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
was there camaraderie between like the bands as far as support was concerned?
Oh, definitely. When we lived in Kennington, when I said to you around the same time as I staggered mentally, we lived in 319 Kennington. There was a squat in Vauxhall, which had Graham Revell, SPK was there. Had Funky Pulcini, James Baddill, he was there. Lusmore was just down the roads in Vauxhall. We had Nocturnal Emissions, were in, I think they were in Brixton or Camberwell. Test Department weren't far away. Yeah, so there was a big group of us. And Alien Sex Fiend as well, actually, were around.
Oh, good lads.
Yeah, so they used to pop round for a cup of tea or whatever every so often. And so we did mix well, to be fair. And we did support each other. Because that was a period when I don't think, that was a period when no one was trying to no one was interested in being competitive with each other. It was more a case of supporting each other. So Graham was always really, really good. And of course, Chris and Cozy were always fantastic. So, yeah.
And fantastic to have like that, that element around where you can get inspired, but also have them drop by for tea. I mean, that's kind of like.
Exactly. When I think of it now, it sounds like, to anybody listening that knows the history of it all, it just sounds surreal. But, at the time it was just, it is how it was,
Yeah.
I mean, same for yourselves, you had Bill Lieb, didn't you? And you had 9 Inch Nails and you had all these characters, and
all seemingly just, just coming as a result of us hearing Portion Control.
No.
Oh no, seriously.
Well,
credit where credit's due. It was like everyone was like thinking, why did Cabaret Voltaire and Throbbing Gristle have sort of like the right feeling, but it didn't have the right balls? And then you guys came along and it's like hard rhythmic electronics. It was like, there you go. It was like exactly the impetus to push America into rolling into their inspiration and get it going. And everyone always says that. Everybody who I've ever talked to, oh, portion control was the one, and it's true. So
yeah, I mean, I get that, because as I said to you, that's the reason we did that track for the Elephant Table. You know, we wanted a conventional track, but just done with a darker edge. You know.
Yeah.
We because we came from punk, we had none of the hippie overtones or none of the hippie currents that some of the other bands did. Like, yeah, no disrespect to them at all. It's their style, but you know, we weren't really interested in that kind of thing. You know, we wanted to approach it from a kind of more of a punk perspective. And I'm not sure punk has the same resonance in the US as the UK, but I mean, I guess in theory it does, but
it did. Vancouver had a really vibrant punk scene, and it was brutal. It wasn't like a funny one or happy. It was just brutal. And that's why I think a lot of people in Vancouver really gravitate towards the harder edge music. And so for us, you know, it's really funny is because, you know, because we're on the other side of the world, we're perceiving what we think about portion control. We're perceiving about what we feel the same way you as a youth would get perception from John Peel. We get perception about what we think might be going on over there. And so it kind of became like this mythological, well, not mythological, but it became a place where we envisioned we needed to create it for ourselves as well. And maybe it got even pushed that way almost. It was like nice impetus for creating a setting for a scene. And so for us in Canada, when we started playing the music we played and started going around and touring, people looked at us like, what the hell are you guys doing? You know, there was no, you know, SPK or Throbbing Gristle camaraderie, or, you know, it's like, what the hell? So it's like really more, I think it was yeah, you had to pay our dues a little bit more, and we had to live that lifestyle. And we just like truly like lived the you know, just lived it. And so what was important to us was always, you know, our roots and where we came from, and acknowledging that all along. So we always, Bill Lee with Frontline Assembly has always been the same way. And Skinny Puppy, and then anybody that we've been also related to, is always the same way. So yeah, it's, you know, my takeaway is, you know, 40 years later, it's like, well, I didn't expect that. And it was kind of interesting that it supported me all along. It's not like I've become rich or anything. I was able to buy all these silly toys and stuff that I collect or something like that. But like, you know, just like keep me in a place where I could be okay. And I thought, well, that's good enough. Because I didn't have to be, you know, work another job. What about you guys? I originally heard that you guys were called Portion Control because you guys were chefs. Is that true?
yeah, that is true. That's where we met when we were at Chef College at Westminster College in London. That's where we sort of met. And that's when I said to you where we swapped stuff. And you know what it's like, you're all at college and suddenly there's a small group of you that are into this sort of eclectic stuff, you know, so we gravitated towards each other. So yeah, that's where we formed Portion Control. And we took the name because the chef lecturers were the worst words to hear when we were at college was like, portion control, you know, you must control your, you know, costs and your ingredients and so on. So this at college was a byword for like boredom, you know, so hence we sort of took it and you know.
Is that one of the words that he would yell? Portion control!
Exactly. And occasionally now I hear it, you know, like I might look on YouTube and there might be like a portion control and someone suggesting, you know, the amount of food they should eat. And I'll see it and obviously it's a slightly weird context, but you get used to it, don't you? You know, yeah. But yeah, that is true. We've got no musical education whatsoever. I mean, obviously, that would be like a disaster.
Yeah.
And it would be counterintuitive to what we do.
You guys know how to cook for each other on the road, though. That's a good thing.
Yeah, we don't have any problem looking after ourselves and stuff. And the funny thing is, this is another quite interesting story. Is when we played with Depeche Mode, we did that short tour with Depeche Mode. I think it's only in the UK. But one night we were in Birmingham, and the roadies were going out to some club in the middle of Birmingham, because apparently a couple of years before there'd been an altercation at this club, and they were going to go and sort of see if they could, have a good night out, And they said to us, "Do you want to come? Yeah, come with us, Portion Control, come with us, and all the rest of it." And we said, "Oh no," because we'd hired a car and we were going to Stratford upon Avon to stay at a bed and breakfast that we'd booked, which was like, so we were the total opposite to the rock and roll lifestyle that these roadies sort of enjoyed, They're forever trying to coax us into either drugs or drink or go into these nightclubs, and we never did, We were just, and do you know what? They found us like so strange. They couldn't deal with it. That was harder for them to deal with than if we'd have been, regular sort of rock, rock style.
Right, yeah. Cliche.
Guys, So yeah.
Well, that's good. They always got to be stunned by, whoa, they don't want to have a drink.
Exactly.
I think that's
still,
great.
Yeah, but we still go to venues and they can't believe that we don't want alcohol in the dressing room. Even in this day and age.
Yeah.
Quite incredible.
This is much more healthy.
Well, it's never bothered us, and we don't mind. Dean will drink a bit. I don't drink at all, but for no reason other than I just don't bother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a waste, anyways. Especially. I think this is going to be a night where you guys, front 242, Nights of Rev, and Portion Control all in one night. At the
the
Riviera Theater. This, I don't know if we were fading out here in our chat when I was saying this earlier, but this is a classic venue in Chicago. One of the classic old school, quite large venue. So
that's a real European lineup there.
Yeah, it sure is. And that's going to be something that I don't think people should miss on that. Have you played with these guys before, from 242 and Nights of Rev?
Yeah, both of them. Yeah,
probably a few times, huh?
Yeah.
Nights lives here in LA, so we know them well. Nice lads. Front 242, yeah, of course we know them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. They did a great job, making sure that you guys are going to play the right venues. And I have to say, can you believe that we played together once in London?
Yeah, you invited us. We were really pleased because that's the first time we played live for a long time.
Really?
Right, at the fall.
You guys, after your meeting at the museum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Came out and did this, and I got the chance to stand behind you guys because there was a screen there and listen to your set. And I was dancing around and everything, and I can't believe that that's already. God, how can that be that long ago?
I know.
18 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
That's just crazy. Okay, it is.
Skinny Puppy were loud. Crikey.
Loud, yeah.
That was loud.
Yeah, it's way too loud.
Oh, it's good.
That's how you wind up with tinnitus, and you don't.
Well, yeah, maybe, but
that.
But we want it as loud as possible, don't we? We always do, but.
I think that's when I was going crazy about that. I was like, okay, this is getting a little bit out of hand, and then I realized when I couldn't hear after the tour that basically it was time to do something about.
Do you ever wear ear plugs or anything?
Now I do. Now I wear in-ears and just do it like that. It's much safer and much smaller amount of gear to carry around too.
Yeah, I do now. Funny enough, I never used to. For years, I never bothered, but I do now. But
oh, you mean hearing protection? They call it.
Yeah, just little plugs, and they're meant to dampen it down, aren't they? By 12 decibels or whatever. But
so you're off next weekend to Sweden,
yeah.
and that is with Test Department, you were saying?
No, this is a friend, actually, a long time Portal Control friend, and he's asked us to play. I think it's his 40th or his 40th birthday, I think. But he's put on a little mini festival, so I don't know who it's with, but it's in Gothenburg. And then we're with Test Department in Stockholm after the American trip, I think in October.
The American trip.
Yeah.
Nothing going on between Sweden and your American trip. You guys will just be getting ready for that.
Yeah, not really. I mean, to be honest with you, we have never, in all of our 40 years, we've never really gone out to look for concerts. We've never done tours or anything. If we want to play, we just play, and it'll always be for 1 or 2 nights. This American thing is probably one of the biggest things. Oh, we did support Frontline Assembly. Can't remember when, some years ago. And then we went on a tour bus and did the whole thing. You know, that was a bit scary. Didn't like that much. I didn't mind Frontline, but I'm just saying, like the life of being on some coach and driving through the night and setting up, and it was too rock and roll for us. So yeah, so we just tend to do on an invite and just for a couple of days, you know.
Yeah. Man,
we tend to prefer to go to places we haven't been before.
Right.
So like somewhere nice in Austria or somewhere, then we'll go. Sometimes if it's Berlin, it's a bit more of a sort of or Brussels or something. You might think twice.
Well, I'll be really interested to hear your impression of America after you play. It's kind of a crazy time right now, and we've got a lot of crazy stuff going on here. So I'm sure that your perspective. I'm going to be interested to hear what your perspective will be after, but please be safe.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy time for everyone, isn't it? To an extent,
it is. Yeah.
But when it's crazy, America is like doubles down. It gets double the amount. I tend to feel.
It's just like the separation between the far right and the far left has grown ever wider, and something about the far right seems to embrace things like gun rights and all sorts of things that are basically causing a lot of trouble in America. And that type of scenario is almost becoming more unavoidable when it comes to people being together. So luckily, music and stuff doesn't really bring that feeling or that environment, but like it's possible, that people can be weirder than they have been, and that's something that I've taken note of. So you'll see it when you're through America.
Yeah.
You're through the vibrant spots. You're coming to Texas.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, you're gonna love it. It's gonna be an adventure. Make sure to buy a cowboy hat while you're there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
John, it's been really great talking to you today. I'm sorry for the mishaps at the beginning with the chat, but I'm really anxious to see you when you play live, and I wish you all the best with that. I'm loving the new material. Please give Dean a big hug for us and me from here. Yeah. And we really all looking forward to seeing you live soon in America. For all of you people out there, please go out and pick up your tickets ASAP so you don't miss this tour. Who knows when it might happen again? You might not like it.
Yeah, massive respect as well for yourself and for Skinny Puppy.
Thanks so much, John. And
no doubt about that.
Really looking forward to hearing your perspective after it's all over. So perhaps we can swing together again and have another chat after, and see where you're at that point.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Yeah, sorry for the technical problems earlier and so on, but
no problem. This will be the place we'll go next time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, brilliant.
All right. Have a nice evening, and thank you once again. See you soon.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.